Hello and welcome to the handover video for your Wellhouse Hyundai i800 camper van. We'll start our tour of the vehicle in the passenger door footwell. So when you open the passenger door, you'll see in the footwell on the passenger side the access point to your freshwater tank. Now there is a key for it, and you get two. You get a spare key as well, but because it's inside the vehicle, there is no need to lock it. The water tank, the grey water tank and the freshwater tank are both underslung in the vehicle. You can see down at the bottom the insulation covering the freshwater tank, and on the end of the freshwater tank there is a tap which, if I open, begins the draining process of the freshwater tank, and then close it off. For your winter drain down procedure, all you have to do as far as the freshwater tank is concerned is open that valve. The bonnet release on the Hyundai is just below the steering wheel on the right hand side for the driver. Release such. While we're here, I'll also show you down in the footwell is your jack and the wheel brace for changing tyres. Fuel cap is on the near side of the vehicle and is released by pressing the button on the driver's door. The secondary catch for the bonnet is located dead centre. On the left hand side of the bonnet is the stay for the bonnet, fits into the little hole there. Underneath the bonnet, the only thing you should ever have to go near on a vehicle that's done this number of miles is the windscreen washer top up. It'll be during service time that power steering and brake fluid levels are checked. Regular check on the oil is recommended. Dipstick is here, filler cap is there. Should you need to top up your coolant, the coolant top up and the reservoir is here. This is your vehicle battery. The leisure battery for the vehicle is stored inside the vehicle itself. The grey water tank is located on the off side of the vehicle, the drain tap on the end of it in exactly the same position as it is on the freshwater tank. Just in front of the rear wheel on the offside is the exhaust port for the diesel heater on your Hyundai, and the one thing that can happen, you can get spiders and things crawling inside here and spinning webs, and that web will catch dried leaves and bits of mud, etc. It's always a good idea when you're checking your tyre pressures, just take the air hose and put a wee blast of air across the exhaust of the diesel, just to keep it, the diesel heater, just to keep it free of debris. Again, as we approach the rear of the vehicle, you'll find the electric hookup point. It is always good practice to connect the vehicle first and then carry the other end of the lead to the hookup point when you're on a campsite. If you think about it, if you plug into the campsite point first and then walk over to your vehicle, you're carrying a live lead in your hand. And if you're on wet grass or something like that, there is the chance of popping a fuse or tripping the power point. So always, best practice, do it. Plug into the site secondly. Plug into the van first, then plug into the site. When you open the tailgate, you see the rear of the vehicle, you'll find the storage space for the table. The table is stored at the back of the rear travelling seat. When making up the bed, you just drop this back parcel shelf down, and then the forward section of the bed goes down, and this forms the platform for sleeping. For storage space, you slide the mattress up so you don't catch it, lift up the back parcel shelf, and you have all this storage space. There is storage space obviously underneath when the bed's down, but not as much as when it's up. In the left hand side there is access to the washer bottle for the rear windscreen washer bottle, and also an emergency release for the bonnet, for the fuel cap, in case anything happens between the cable at the front and the rear of the vehicle. On the right hand side of the rear of the vehicle is the gas locker. Do not keep anything in this except your bottle of gas. There is a vent at the bottom. Gas is heavier than air. If you ever have a gas leak, gas will escape through the vent and there'll be no danger of fire or explosion. If you put wet cloths or rags or anything in there, there's always a danger you could block that vent. To switch the gas bottle on, anti-clockwise turn of the valve at the top of the gas bottle. Should you have the bed down and this door isn't accessible, there is a small access hatch at the rear, and you can get your hand in and open the gas valve that way. Previous owner has very kindly written on there the directions for opening and closing. Just above that hatch is the rear shower point. Just plugs in so, and stays in the off position until you start to turn it to the left. The further to the left you turn it, the warmer the water will get. There's a trigger on the end of the hose. There's obviously air in the system, which will work its way through, and then you'll get continuity of flow. This does leak. It's not because there is a fault, it is just the design. There is a rubber seal, so no water will escape while you're in transit. It's always a good idea just to carry a wee cloth in here to mop that up when you're finished. And also to remove the water from the pipe when you're finished, open the trigger and let the water flow out. So, once inside the vehicle, you have a small coffee table. Loosen the bolt here and it allows it to slide that way. Loosen the bolt underneath and it allows it to slide that way. You have another bolt here which allows the table to rotate. So find a position you like. Once you've turned the passenger seat round, you then have a coffee table in front of the passenger seat. The table in the rear fits on to the table rail here, and that gives you an eating surface when you're sitting on the rear seat. To open the fridge, slide the handle to the left and the door opens. It's much easier if you want to adjust it if you take the tray out of the fridge, because the fridge is quite deep and you'll see at the back of it the thermostatic control. Turn it all the way anti-clockwise to switch the fridge off. The further clockwise round you turn it, the colder the fridge will be. The control panel for everything inside your Hyundai i800 is just next to the sink here in the habitation area. 7 switches, of which only 6 are live. Master switch obviously supplies the master 12 volt power, and then we have the lights coming on, and these bring on the roof lights around the vehicle. On the second light circuit are the reading lights, which also have their own individual switches. The roof lights are all controlled from that one control point there. This auxiliary circuit is for the Webasto diesel heater. This supplies your hot water and your warm air blown heating system. If I turn the dial up, you'll see that there are no lights on here. However, as soon as I switch on the auxiliary switch, we have power to the heater. Thermostatic control on the right hand side, fan control on the left. On a particularly cold day, it takes about half an hour and you're as warm as toast in here. If you're only wanting hot water, don't switch the fan on, just turn on the actual diesel heater itself. The diesel heater operates as a heat exchanger. Inside this cupboard here, there is a rotary dial with a temperature gauge on it marked with a plus and a minus. The further round towards the plus you turn it, the warmer the water will be. Turn it all the way round to the negative and there will be no hot water at all. That's the position you keep it in if you're operating the vehicle in the winter with no water in it. If you have water in it and you want that water to be hot, just turn it in the direction of the plus and leave it there. Turn your dial up here and you'll have hot water. The water pump has to be on, obviously, for water to be delivered through the system. On your handover day, we will have put the water on before you arrive so that it's nice and hot to demonstrate that all the systems are working. The final two switches on the control panel, the one marked volt gives you a reading of the condition of your leisure battery, and this is a spare auxiliary circuit. So if you decided at some future point to fit additional lighting or to have an awning and have an exterior light, it can get wired through the control panel to that switch. Having switched the gas on at the bottle, it's this very simple press, turn to the high position and press the igniter, hold for a couple of seconds while the thermocouple heats up and release, and similarly on the smaller ring as well. There is no safety cutout on this lid, so you must make sure that you've switched the gas off and allowed it to cool before you close this glass lid. It's tempered safety glass. If you do close it on a naked flame, it will shatter. It's also best practice not to cook with the roof down. Always have the roof up. The reason for that is ventilation. With the roof up, there is a vent in the canvas which will allow all the moisture from your cooking to escape the vehicle. This model comes with a combination oven and grill with a rotisserie table as well. To light the grill, simply turn to the grill position, press the igniter and hold the button in until the thermocouple heats up and you have a steady blue flame on the grill. So, similarly with the oven, turn to the oven, press the igniter and you get a solid blue flame at the back. Hold for a while till the thermocouple heats up, then release. There is a light that can come on so you can see what it is you're cooking, and the rotary table as well to give even heating if you're warming up something in your oven. When you open the rear door on the off side of the vehicle, it gives you access to the back of the furniture from the habitation area. Here you will find spade fuses for individual items within the vehicle and your RCD trip switches for your 240 volt circuits. There's also access to the porta potty from the rear of the vehicle, and also for maintenance purposes access to the water pump. The only maintenance you would want to do in the water pump yourself would be to clean the filter should that be required. During winter drain down, you open the valves on both the freshwater and the grey water tank, and you open that valve as well, which will allow all the water in the pipes leading up to the taps to drain out. Always have the valve in this position when operating the water system in the habitation area. Finally, on this part of the vehicle, gas isolation switches to both the hob and to the oven grill. This model of campervan is fitted with a remote controller for your Webasto heating. Simple on-off button on the side. Display comes up at the front and then you can adjust the temperature. This is a digital readout of the temperature. One advantage of this over the simple dial that's in the habitation area is that you have a button where you can set a timer. Standard common sense controls, volume up and down for the radio, and a mode button to take you through your trip meter on the dashboard. Windscreen wipers on the left, lights and indicators on the right hand side. FM AM radio with CD player. There is iPod input, auxiliary and USB jack goes in there, and it has the old-fashioned 32 pin adapter on the end of it. If you have a modern lightning connector iPod or iPhone, you just get an adapter to fit one to the other. Alternatively, you can just take a lightning to USB connection off your iPhone, or if you have another MP3 player, a 3.5mm TRS lead from your music player to the unit goes in there. Air conditioning, advisable when you're using air conditioning to recirculate the air. It means you're chilling less air at the time, it's more efficient, uses less fuel. The dial on the rear indicates where the air is going. The dial on the left is the fan speed. This control here is disabled. This is the rear fan control, and there was blowers and fans in the roof, but because you have the pop-up roof fitted to the vehicle, that is now redundant. Hazard warning and as I say, radio controls, presets, fairly straightforward. If you know how to drive a car, you'll be familiar with all of these controls. Well, that concludes your handover video for your Hyundai i800 from Wellhouse. Everyone at Highland Campervans wishes you all the very best. We're sure this vehicle will bring you lots of miles and lots of smiles. And don't forget, we're on the end of the phone if you ever need any future help or advice. Enjoy making memories. Thank you for watching.